I don't need a journalist to get me to the interviews or the places, peoples, and things that are important to me. If you got a job, you got to sing for your supper. And journalists are singing for their supper. So we're producing this podcast called Tomorrow News Today with J.Mo and Apollo. Let's start with a little introduction to Jason Moore, J.Mo.
Reality, yes, we need reality. I mean, I work for a local, ABC affiliate, and when you wrote for news heads, if it didn't have the right slant, it got kicked back, and they told you basically that you needed to improve the slant. They literally called it the slant. Anyways, if you want to be in journalism, especially broadcast journalism, there's no quicker way to get out of wanting to do that than working at a news station.
We see headlines, we see statements, we see more opinions than there are leaves on trees. I want to see the data. People say, do your research. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to show all the receipts.
First entry into TikTok, or as he and I say, Tim Talk. Right, Scout?
All right, Swifties, you know what to do. Tim Walsh is officially on TikTok. Go give him a follow. You know I did. Let's make him feel very welcome by the Swifties. Let's do this. And welcome, Governor Walsh. We're very happy to have you.
I mean, there's two things people in the ether of the tubes and webs don't mess with, and that's the Swifties and Black Twitter. You leave those two alone and they'll leave you alone. I think what we just really realize is that it's like a conglomerate. It's like the Blob, but it's probably like a lot better smelling, clean smelling. And I don't really say like perfume or anything like that, but I just envision like those that like follow Taylor Swift are also those that probably use shampoo and conditioner. And then they probably have a face product of they're suspect of the 2-in-1 bottle in my shower. You know what I mean? 2-in-1. Wait a minute. And you don't leave it in 5 minutes. You just rinse and then out. Get out of here. That's not going to condition anything.
Now, it's very important what we're going to say right now.
This is Senator James Donald Bowman from Ohio. Senator Bowman is also the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party for this election. If your immediate response to what I just said is, Shane, that's J.D. Vance, not whoever you just said, you would be correct, because J.D. Vance was born James Donald Bowman. After he was adopted, his last name was changed to Hamill, and then 10 years ago when he got married, he legally changed his name to J.D. Vance, presumably due to some of the childhood trauma that he experienced, and he likely associates it with that name. However, I've been told that it's very important that people need to stick with the identities and the names that they've been given at birth, so I'll be referring to J.D. Vance as James Donald Bowman in all of my future videos and social media posts. And if you're a Republican or a Trump supporter and that seems a little disrespectful to you, like maybe I should respect J.D. Vance's chosen identity, especially because he has some past trauma associated with a previous identity, then congratulations, because you were this close to getting the point.
There's about 500,000 people trying to get into this. Okay, no, I'm being told right now with an update, about 750,000 people are trying to get into this to listen. It's about 33 minutes late. Musk says this: we tested the system with 8 million concurrent listeners Meredith McGraw at Politico saying unable to get into the Musk-Trump X spaces. So many, like Meredith, are saying they can't get in, like Hannah Knowles at the Washington Post, with this throwback reminding all of us, I was just about to, Twitter Spaces appears to be glitching before the Trump-Elon Musk chat gets started, much like the DeSantis campaign launch Twitter meltdown in 2023. Our own Bill Malhusian saying, I can't get into the Trump-Elon interview, says space not available. Anyone else? So many others, Bill, are experiencing what you're experiencing. Elon Musk weighing in on this as well. We'll see what the Trump campaign says about this.
Did the Elon Trump interview on X get 1 billion views? Of course it did not. Of course it did not. Why does everything have to be so grossly exaggerated with these people? I don't get it. Do you know how they came up with this number? This isn't the number of people that joined the interview. That was 73 million, which to me is good. Why can't they just say 73 million? That sounds good. No, they literally counted every person that posted about it, and they also counted every person that saw every post that posted about it. Yes, this is the kind of stupid and childish adolescent bullshit that people are sick of dealing with.
I heard this tree fall in the wood. It was really loud. I didn't see it. I was down the road. Right, the light there. And I heard it. It's a dead tree. It's rotted from the inside. Fell off, crunched, cracked. And as it came down, you could hear other branches snapping off.
This morning, I didn't think that it would be necessary to fact check the New York Times, but here we are. And CNN, you're on the hook for this too. So come with me on a little journey. So a few weeks ago, Trump says, hey, let's not make tips taxable. And this is how it's covered in the New York Times. A Trump idea gains ground. Then after meeting with the Culinary Union, Kamala Harris says, hey, let's not make tips taxable. But the New York Times says mirroring a proposal made by Trump. And then I saw this headline first thing this morning. Harris endorses eliminating taxes on tips, touting policy first proposed by Trump. So here's a couple issues with that. First of all, tips weren't even taxable until 1982 when Congress pushed a law that Reagan signed into law that made them taxable. And in 2012, Ron Paul wanted to roll back that law. But there's more. The same Culinary Union that Kamala Harris met with before her rally has been calling for an end to taxes on tips since July. Trump did not create this policy. Kamala Harris did not copy this policy. Now, because media outlets are not competent at writing headlines and most people don't read past the headlines, they think that Trump invented a policy that Kamala Harris has now copied, and those things did not happen. I am calling for a total and complete shutdown of white men writing headlines and news articles about Kamala Harris until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
White supremacy culture teaches us that power is pie, and it ain't enough of it to go around. But here come 3 badass black women to show us that sharing power is a far better way to live. Don't look at me like that all what? I'm going somewhere. Follow me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brittany Packard Cunningham, and I am obsessed with power. I read about it. I write about it. I talk about it on my podcast. It is the central theme of my very first book, which is all about how black women are experts at creating new power. I am so obsessed with power that I taught 2 different semesters worth of weekly sessions on redefining power when I was a fellow at Harvard's Institute of Politics 2 different times. I'm obsessed with power because I believe that every single injustice, inequity, and evil in the world comes down to power. How we get it, who has it, who wants to hoard it, and just how far they'll go to do exactly that. Now, it took many years, many pages of reading, lots of experience in the streets of protest and in policy and in organizing and in strategy work to actually crystallize that idea for me. But the seed was first planted when I heard about the work of Jones and Okun years ago. And if you think you don't know who Jones and Okun are, you actually just might. Because if you've seen this, you've seen Jones and Okun's work. They got together and actually defined the elements of white dominant culture or white supremacy culture for us. You see that right there? Power hoarding? That is a central tenet of white supremacy culture. Remember, white supremacy is a system, white supremacy is institutions, and it is also a culture that is all around us. And like Beverly Daniel Tatum says, it is a smog that we all breathe in. What is power hoarding as they define it, you ask? Well, you can pause to read this whole thing, but here are the key parts to remember. Little, if any, value around sharing power, and power is seen as limited. There's only so much to go around, like that pie. Now, back to the Olympics. These three young women made history by being the first three Black women to occupy the entirety of the Olympics artistic gymnastics stand. That's Rebecca Andrade in the middle, who's representing Brazil and won the gold in floor. Over there is Simone Biles, who won silver, and over here is Jordan Childs, who took home the bronze. You see how in this history-making moment, they're still coming together as sisters, honoring the woman who took home the gold, becoming the most decorated Olympian in Brazil's history. None of them are hating on each other, intimidated by each other. Ain't nobody looking at each other funny. No. They are bowing because they understand we love a Black woman from infinity to infinity. And they also understand how to share power. So what did they teach us through this? Number one, they teach us that power sharers don't want to hoard what they didn't earn. Going into this Olympics, Simone Biles is the heavy favorite by experts and fans alike to win nothing but gold. And instead of pouting because she felt entitled to a gold medal that everybody told her was hers, she honored the person who earned it. And if Simone continues on with her career, guess what? I know she's going to be back in the gym getting that full routine perfect. Now let's talk about how that relates to the concept of white privilege. Remember, white privilege does not mean that you haven't worked hard for anything in your life. It means that your whiteness has never been a hindrance to you getting those things, and that your whiteness was often an advantage to you getting those things. There is no amount of merit that can earn you privilege simply for being born in the right skin. Violence earned it for you, oppression earned it for you, degradation earned it for you, but you could not earn your way to white privilege if you tried. And here's Simone teaching us that you shouldn't be hoarding something or feel entitled to something that you didn't earn. Now, if after all that oppression and degradation and violence, you want to hold on to that thing, you got to take that up with the Lord. But perhaps we can recognize that if you did not earn the power of that privilege, then it's your responsibility to share it and to spend it to make the world a just place. Food for thought. You might get that one later. Number two, power sharers know that their power isn't diminished because someone else is displaying theirs. That's because so many of us who are inclined to power sharing instead of power hoarding grew up in cultures and traditions and communities that put community first. We were taught that power is not some extrinsic thing that the world can award to us and dole out to us as it sees fit. No, we were taught that power is inherent, it's intrinsic, it comes from within us, and we all have exactly as much as we need. When you think of it like that, power is not pie, some finite resource that can't really go around. Power is abundant, and there's enough for us all. If I go into this corner and turn on a lamp, and then go to the other corner of this room and turn on another lamp, the first light doesn't dim. The entire room becomes brighter. And this is what happens when marginalized people especially, but truly when all of us are allowed to operate in our full power without harming one another. Because if you operate in your full confidence, and I operate in my full creativity, and someone else is operating in their full strategy, we have the opportunity to come together and build the world that we deserve. Simone and Jordan know that Rebecca is not a threat in that moment, that it is good for the sport, it is good for the world, it is good for all all three of them to see this, make this history together, and honor Rebecca for that gold medal. I mean, Jordan is not any less of a star who has a long, bright future in this sport. Simone is not any less of the GOAT because she took home silver today. And Rebecca isn't any less of an incredible athlete and leader because she took home silver yesterday on the vault before she took home gold. Simone made a video the other day talking about how she hasn't had competition like Rebecca in a while. Rebecca's power made Simone a better competitor. It made Simone more powerful. That's how we need to be operating in the world. And number 3, and this is gonna be tough for some of y'all, power sharers know that there is more to life than winning. Here's the thing. White supremacy culture lied to us and said all of life is a competition. But we see that the people who are most successful are actually only a competition with themselves. Hello, Beyonce. And the people who are happiest and full of all that life has to bring understand that competition ends and life continues. I mean, listen, y'all, Simone wins a lot. But she understands that what we saw in that history-making podium at the Olympics today was bigger than another medal and even bigger than her. Rebecca Andrade becoming the most decorated Olympian in her home country of Brazil is an important thing for women in Brazil and Black women in Brazil. Because in case they didn't teach you this history, of the over 11 million African people that were stolen and forced into chattel slavery, most of them were dropped off in Brazil and the Caribbean. Black women in Brazil suffer from femicide, racism, misogynoir, and colorism at alarming rates. And the fact that their biggest champion is an Afro-Brazilian woman means so much. So when Simone is bowing to Rebecca on that podium, it's important for all of those little Black girls in Brazil who see themselves in Rebecca and who are touched by her work in a different way than when they see Simone. And Simone encourages Jordan as a young, rising star in this sport. She's not just thinking about her own medals, she's thinking about the future of this sport that has never before seen 3 Black women hold up that podium. Being a great teammate and a great team player is important for the sport. It's important for diverse folks in this sport, and it's important for the future of this world. And this is why power sharing is very sexy. Because imagine if we applied this principle to our families, to our churches, to our synagogues and our mosques, to our workplaces, to our schools, to our government and our policymakers. The greatest trick that white supremacy ever played was to separate so many of us from our own knowing, from the cultures and traditions that taught us that community is more important than competition. So let's return to the things that have helped us survive and thrive. And if that's new to you, we welcome you to practice it too. And on that note, love a Black woman from infinity to infinity.
Here's the funny thing about that. So he won't debate, but he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. And by the way, don't you find some of their stuff to just be plain weird? Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say, say it to my face.
Right now, there's this big discussion going on about memes and political messaging because the Kamala HQ came right out the gate into the campaign very meme forward with the Brat Summer, with the coconut tree stuff. And there's people out there saying like, oh, she should never do the apple dance. It'll seem inauthentic. The drill tweet in today's press release was like a bridge too far. And those people are wrong. First of all, because it would be cool to see Tim Waltz do the apple dance. But secondly, because they misunderstand what memes do. Memes are dialogue. They're not monologue. Every single successful meme for the Harris campaign so far has been a meme they did not start. It was a meme they saw online that they picked up on, that they endorsed, whether it's Brat Summer, whether it's the coconut pilled thing, or the best example recently is the Midwest princess hat. They saw a bunch of viral tweets about that, comparing, Tim Waltz, Chapel Roan, camo stuff, and within 6 hours, it was on the online shop. The power of these posts doesn't come from them being really well-made, funny, meme-savvy, whatever. It comes from them being evidence that the campaign is listening to people in the platforms where people spend their time. I read these memes as promises. The memes are saying we're listening on this platform. We know what's popular here because we're watching the videos you're making. And we're going to keep on listening when you're talking about more serious topics too. We're going to keep on being here actively with you. And so the reason this meme campaign would fail isn't because they pander to people too much. I think that's exactly what people want. They want to be pandered to. They want to be listened to. It would fail if substantively they don't live up to that promise of continuing to listen when stuff gets serious.
Have you ever heard of my Nazi knock-knock joke, Louis? No. Knock-knock. Who's there? We will ask the questions! Now get out of here.
My new single, P.S. I Love You, just came out today. Here's the beginning. Dear, I thought I'd drop a line. The weather's cool. The folks are fine. I'm in bed each night at 9. P.S. I love you. It's a sad song, but I was singing it all happy because I'm just excited. It's out on all streaming platforms. Go check it out.
About the economy between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So let's dive into it. We're going to take a look at unemployment, job creation, wage growth, GDP growth, manufacturing, stock market performance, and inflation recovery. And we'll see what the data actually holds, not what the narrative. Let's start with unemployment. This is overall unemployment for the entire population. This is where Obama took office at the beginning of 2009, and this is where the pandemic happened. Here, you can see that the trend line stays completely stable between Obama and Trump. Trump did nothing to accelerate unemployment rates becoming better. He just inherited this slope. And then we hit the pandemic, it went crazy, and it went right back down under Biden to the lowest rate in 50 years, which Biden has, not Trump. Trump used to say it with him. He can't say that anymore. But as you can see, it's a minuscule difference. The truth is, we're kind of just back to where we were. Trump also really liked to talk about having the lowest black unemployment rate during his presidency, which you can see right there. But if you take a look to the right a little further, Joe Biden broke that number in 2023. So Trump can't say that either. In the end, it's the same exact thing. Trend line follows all the way through Obama into Trump. Pandemic kind of ruins it. Biden fixes it and brings it lower than Trump ever did. Here is a chart on job growth in the United States. This is going back to Obama all the way through now. So you can see from Obama all the way through Trump, extraordinarily stable. Trump didn't do anything to increase it or decrease it. He just inherited what Obama had stabilized after the recession. The pandemic knocks it down. It comes back up. And now what you're seeing in this little dip here is trying to normalize, which is what the Fed is trying to do by increasing rates. It's supposed to slow down job creation, which will flatten out inflation. So this is exactly what you want to see, a return to where we were before, which was a stable job growth pattern in the United States, regardless if it was Obama or Trump or Biden. It's just how the United States economy works. Now, when it comes to one sector where Biden actually did dramatically better than Trump is manufacturing. As you can see here, the Trump line in manufacturing is very flat, and once Biden's infrastructure plan kicked in 2023, took off through the roof. Manufacturing is way better under Joe Biden than it was under Donald Trump, despite Trump's consistent claims that he was going to improve it. He never did. Joe Biden actually did it. It's in the data. One more thing to note is entrepreneurship. So as you can see under Trump, it was completely flat during the majority of his presidency. The pandemic made it take off because we all had to sort of adjust to how the new world was going to behave, and a lot of new businesses were formed. But then instead of it sort of falling back to pre-pandemic levels, Joe Biden had those levels maintained. Entrepreneurship remains dramatically higher under President Biden as opposed to President Trump. Just a note. Another important measurement is GDP growth. Here it is since 1980 in the US. These two little dips are the recession in 2008 and the pandemic. As you can see, in between those points, Trump and Obama had extraordinarily similar GDP growth, and then once this stabilized, so did Joe Biden. There's nothing Donald Trump did that was extraordinary or different. It was all exactly in the typical rhythm of the US economy. Didn't help, didn't hurt. In the US. Right here is where Obama took office and the end of the recession. Obama stabilizes it, keeps the pattern with Trump. It's consistently going up. We hit the pandemic and boom, it takes off. And that's why inflation went crazy, and then it starts to stabilize again. As you can see, there's nothing significant that Trump did or didn't do. Biden stabilized everything. It's the same narrative yet again. Yet again, nothing that Trump can point to that he really did at all. Stock market performance, another thing that Trump loves to talk about. Let's take a look at it. This is since right when Obama took office, right there, the far left, at the end of the recession. See this little line? Just consistently going up at the exact same pace until it hits the pandemic, drops a bit, and then keeps going back up at the same pace. Again, Trump did absolutely nothing to accelerate it. There's no clear accelerated growth. There's just two events, the 2008 recession and the pandemic that affect it. And then you see that dip in 2022, that's inflation, which we're about to get into. This is inflation in G7 countries since 1980. As you can see, a little unstable, but then in the modern era, we're stabilizing and kind of working together. And then, oh my God, the entire world pops up in inflation together. We all had inflation. So anybody who goes, oh, it's Joe Biden's fault we had inflation. Did Joe Biden make inflation happen in Italy and the UK and Canada? No. The entire world went through an inflationary process because of the post-pandemic effect on supply chain. It's not complicated. And guess what? We all fell right back together. So this idea that Joe Biden was the reason for inflation, it's wrong. Look at the G7 countries. Look at the way we're all tied together economically. If you had seen this line where the US goes way up and all the other guys stay low, you'd have an argument. But you don't see that because it's not what happened. I wanted to illustrate two things with this video. One is that Donald Trump's economy was really no different from the Obama economy. It was on the same trajectory, and Biden has continued that trajectory. So Trump didn't have a major effect in any massive sector of the economy that no other president did. And the reason is because of number two, is that he didn't actually do anything. He didn't have any policy that was enacted that was going to change the economy drastically. All he did was sit around and deregulate a couple industries that didn't actually have any benefit. And the moves he did make, which were two primary ones. One was his major tax cut, which ended up adding $2 trillion in deficit. That's not helpful for inflation. And two, he started a trade war with China, which he lost, and lost us $300 billion. So he made two significant moves, neither of which worked, and in the end only passed along the woe to the Biden administration when they had to deal with added amounts of inflation on top of what was already existing in a worldwide inflation situation. So not a great economic background for Trump, and he loves to run on the fact that he has one. But the truth is, he doesn't.
Let me get back in my home. Well, I just want to sit here, hang out with my friends, look at the sights. We're just hanging out. You can see some of the gadgetry in the back there. It's going all the... Yeah, it's got our data. It's our data. That's what it holds. In space, it's data. Warren Data. He was in like Dick Tracy, I think. Warren Data. Oh yeah, with Han Solo. Chewbacca. I saw something on the internet where a fella like put some person's phone number and claims it's a Chewbacca competition, has little tear-offs, says it's $300, pays at the end of the month, puts them all over town, and people call at all hours on the phone. So there is no competition, and he did it to somebody he didn't like. So that's the story. So if you start getting Chewbacca calls and they're just still coming in, chances are somebody that's not your friend, but they have your number, is posting flyers all over town announcing a Chewbacca competition. Stand by. Stand by. I gotta call it in real quick. It takes a minute though. The lunar antenna's rotating southern, 42 degrees Fahrenheit. No, they put a patch behind my ear. Sometimes, but mostly behind my ear. Yeah, right. That's an extra. It's an upgrade, an add-on. Right. Can you touch my rear trajectory button?
The record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender.
So there are two things that come up, I think, for especially men who are highly narcissistic when in the presence of veterans. The first one is envy. And, you know, by whatever standards of whatever society we think about, whether you support military action or not, by those standards, for the most part, when people are injured, killed, or captured in battle, they're considered genuine heroes. And so heroism is something that narcissists cannot abide, because it brings all of their fears, all of their self-doubt, all of their negative talk to themselves internally. It brings all of it to the surface. So they have to attack heroes in order to feel better about themselves. So that's the first thing that comes up. The second reason that also stems from narcissism is that, especially with people who have severe cases of narcissism, looking out for number one is their worldview. It is their philosophy. So they actually can't understand sacrifice, service, mission, being dedicated to a cause that's larger than they are, being dedicated to other people. So for instance, trying to save somebody in battle and getting injured yourself, it makes no sense to somebody who's very narcissistic. They think you're a loser, because obviously the smart thing to do in a situation like that, from the narcissistic perspective, is to look out for yourself first. So as a result, anybody who's captured in battle, injured, killed, whatever it is, they must consider, as whatever words you want to use, losers or dummies or whatever, idiots, because they fail to look out for themselves first. And so that's part of what happens when you're severely narcissistic. You can't understand why anybody would do those things. And that's why this keeps surfacing. That's why he says things like a medal that he gives a donor is more important than the Medal of Honor. That's why this keeps coming up.
Somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to him. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. Do you agree with that? He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
Maisha Johnson spoke for the first time since her husband came home about the call she received from President Trump.
The president said that he knew what he signed up for, but it hurts anyways. He couldn't remember my husband's name.
Mr. Trump said on Twitter the conversation was respectful and that he spoke Johnson's name from the beginning, without hesitation. Johnson's widow disagreed.
The only way he remembered my husband's name because he told me he had my husband report in front of him.
Mrs. Johnson is a constituent and friend of Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, a member of Congress since 2011 and before that the Florida legislature. Wilson listened to the president's call last week and accused him of insensitivity, prompting a barrage of White House criticism that persisted through the weekend. The president described her 3 times on Twitter as wacky. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
More simply, as we say in the South, all hat, no cattle.
And Chief of Staff John Kelly piled on.
Even for someone that is that empty a barrel, we were stunned.
Again, Sergeant Johnson's widow disagreed.
What she said was 100% correct.
Mrs. Johnson was asked if she had anything to say to the president.
Nah, I don't have nothing to say to him.
Arizona Senator John McCain, a former prisoner of war in Vietnam, joined other Republicans in urging the president to end the dispute with the Johnson family.
We should not be fighting about a brave American who lost his life serving his country. That should not be the topic of discussion in America today.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor, that's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. It's right. And they're rated equal. But she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she got it and that's through committees and everything else. She's done an incredible job on addiction as a doctor and so many other things. And I watched her husband sitting at the White House, and he was so proud. I've never seen him so proud. He didn't like to show it because he was cool, right? But he was so proud of you. And they had a great love affair. They were just an incredible couple.
I used to wake and bake, roll out of bed, hit the gravity bomb that I made, and start the day. For a while it got me by. Everything I did seemed better when I was high. I don't know why. So I'm getting rid of the habits that I feel are real good at wasting my time. No regrets, baby, I just think that maybe it's natural when things lose their shine. So other things can glow. I've gotten older now, I know how to take care of myself. I found a deeper well.
So I have a question. If what someone believes is a biased opinion turns out to be true, is it still biased? Because I am making this video just for you. Just for you. I'm making a prediction. And you're going to say it's biased, and then it's all going to happen exactly like I say it's going to happen. So the question is, will it still be biased when it happens? Because here's what's going to happen over the next 3 months. Here in about 2 or 3 weeks, gas prices are going to start falling due to seasonal demand. Kids will be going back to school. Summer blend will be getting out of the system. We'll be back to winter blend. Everyone's vacations will be over. Gas prices will be falling, and they will fall all the way from late August all the way up to Election Day, because that's what they do every single year. And you will all claim that they're lowering prices for the election. But here's the prediction. The Republican Party and Donald Trump will claim that Kamala Harris is working with OPEC to lower gas prices to win the election. And this is going to dominate some of the news media for a while. It's going to happen. This is exactly what they did to Barack Obama. Since he had the name Barack Obama and he had that skin color thing, they automatically tied him to Middle Eastern countries. They're going to do that with Kamala too. So they're going to claim that she's working with OPEC to lower gas prices to win the election. That's totally coming. You're going to hear this every day. And these claims are rooted in racism and misogyny. And you'll believe it, and you'll believe it. But what I'm saying is true. Those claims are coming. It's totally happening. Even though nothing will change fundamentally, OPEC will not be increasing production. Nothing is going to change fundamentally. It's just seasonal demand drives down gas prices every year, but they're going to make it a whole thing. And I know that you think that sounds biased, when it's really just taking one of their old plays out of their old playbook and saying, hey, here's what they're going to do. They've done it before. So keep this video, keep it, favorite it, whatever, so you can go back to it here in I don't know, a month maybe, when all this starts happening. It's going to happen. It's 1,000% going to happen. Yeah, thanks.
But he's on federal pretrial release. Now, I don't know if he's actually on pretrial release, as I understand pretrial release in my 35 plus years of being a federal criminal defense lawyer, but he is essentially, as all people who are charged with a federal indictment or federal charges are pending trial, unless they're already in custody, he is at the mercy of the court when it comes to remaining at liberty on his federal indictment. There's a thing known as the 1984 Bail Reform Act, which sets up the criteria for when somebody is released. Federal courts do not have the bail system that state courts have. They have a system where you have an initial appearance where a detention determination is made, and in that detention determination, the court reviews two things. Are you a danger to the community, and are you a flight risk? And if either you're not, or certain conditions can be, in the words they use, are fashioned to override any dangers you may present by pretrial services, you will be released pending trial. That's what happened to Trump. Now, it was a little different with Trump because they treat him with kid gloves and all that.
Yeah, it's silly. I'm out. Okay, I probably got to go do some stuff too. It's 4 o'clock my time. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, dude. Hold up. I'm going to do a pirate too. Pirates are here. I look more reserved and clean cut as a pirate. Scallywag, pirates. How dare you call me a pirate when you know I'm a log? I know. Okay, Paul, I do have to go do some stuff. It's 4 o'clock here. Christine's gone, and I told her I'd do a whole bunch of shit. Did I do any of it? Hey, Frida Kahlo. Goodbye, sir.
Heaven without dying, met the devil without trying, and they both seem to want to talk to me. And I'm all out of luck now, and my dreams aren't worth a buck now, and I'm still trying to land on my feet.
And I ask all of you to sing one song. Yay! Can you sing Grace? Yes. Ready? As we gather here, the chapel here, in all the angels, I think about these past few weeks. Oh, will they say we failed? For our school days, they have told us we must yearn for liberty. Now all I want in this afternoon is to have you here with me. So great, just hold me in your arms and let this moment linger. And take me out and I will die. With all my love, I place this wedding ring upon your finger. My thoughts will be of you, and I write the words upon the wall, so everyone will know. I love so much that I could see his blood upon